What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movement Mindset, powered by Station Athletics. I'm Chris Hardenberg here with Joe Pasalacqua, and we're heading into episode 17, where we're going to talk a little bit about mindset and how having a good mindset and what that looks like can affect your results in the gym and things you do outside the gym.
Mindset 101.
100%.
It's just like, it's such like a good talking point because you see it. If you are on Instagram at all, how many fucking motivational videos? Mindset, do this, wake up early, blah, blah, blah. All this shit, right? There's like so many different variables on things that carry over. But what I found with, other businesses, being in the fitness industry, just like you have,
Yeah.
the mindset of what you're trying to accomplish you need to have some sort of mission of what you're trying to accomplish, right? So when we started to redesign these programs over all these years, the perspective was, okay, what keeps people motivated? And it's goal orientation. And that's why our program is so goal oriented, because most people are, right? It's very rare, we've run into this shit, where people in business and their employees aren't they're not money motivated. It happens sometimes, but it's very, very rare that happens. But it's the same thing when you go into actual results driven. It's like, okay, great. Most people want to do one of three things when joining fitness. They want to lose weight, okay? They want to gain weight, or they just want to feel better in general.
Sure.
Right? And then you have the variables of like, okay, this person wants to compete, this person wants to do this, or supplementing with other things, they're trying it out. But those are basically like the three main things. So it's like, okay, when you break it down, motivation to keep them in a direction to those three categories is really important.
Yeah, and being able to frame, for people personally, how to do things like growth mindset versus fixed mindset. So for those of you that don't know, there's a woman who wrote a book, Carol Dweck. It was called Mindset, that I read years ago. That was hugely impactful to me. And essentially what it talked about was a growth mindset is someone who thinks things can change, things can adjust, things can get better, nothing's set in stone. And fixed mindset are people who are like, I am this, I am slow, I am overweight, I can't change. And where I really started to see this a lot, honestly, was when I was competing, I'd go to a competition where I was usually competing with a team, and you're with other teams in the corrals, right? And you're just waiting. And you'd hear people in the warm-up area oh, it's so cold outside. Oh, the bar is so slippery. They'd be complaining about things that's dude,
out of your control.
Out of your control. And I'm watching people, and I've had people on teams with me that I'm watching them mentally fall apart
Before you even start.
Yes, and I just remember thinking I competed one time with this guy who was having a hard time in the warm-up area, and it was a second day of a 2-day competition, and he's like, the dumbbell feels so heavy today, and I'm so sore and tired, and I literally go, yeah, so is everyone else. This is day 2. This is kind of how it is. Or people who wait in the corrals for so long, and they're like, oh, I've been in here for 20 minutes, but it's thinking of well, so is everyone else, right? And so being able to look at things when it comes to other goals, like you mentioned, weight loss or whatever, being able to control your controllables and not falling into the thing of oh, I'm never going to get any results.
The headspace thing.
Yes.
No matter what you're using it for, whether it's you want to make more money or you want to lose weight or, I want to sign up for a marathon or half marathon. I'm going to do, anything that you're trying to accomplish. If your mindset's off, it's going to affect you.
Yeah.
Right? How many times have we had people weigh in, super motivated, and then they start to do well, and then they fall off because they go back to the same bullshit.
Right.
Right? The same thought process is oh, I'm tired, I'm busy, and I get all of that. I totally understand that. But people do it. So it's so why can't you?
Yeah.
And it's only because you're telling yourself that this is difficult.
Yeah.
And this is why I can accomplish this.
Yeah. It's literally a conversation. I know it's probably going to sound weird, but it's a conversation we have with our kids all the time, where it's because they're kids, they'll be doing something and it's hard. And they'll be oh, I can't do it. This is hard. And it's we'll say to them, you can do hard things. And then it's you see adults and it's I feel I'm having the same conversation. You can do hard things. It's hard.
It's never ending.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter if you're a little kid or you're a grown adult who's been in the workforce for 30 years.
Yeah.
We deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
It's just a mindset of, and that's, I mean, this may be a sensitive subject, but it's why I believe that there's winners and losers, right? There's no in between. You either do it or you don't.
Right.
Right. And it's because people have mindsets to accomplish things. And this is why sometimes people get stuck in jobs where they can't move and they can only do lateral or like, this is what it is, because there's a lack of effort in everything that they do.
Right.
So if you have a lack of effort in, the way that I see it is, and I'm probably pretty spot on with this, people that have a lack of effort in their day-to-day and their daily life, and I'm talking about at home, I'm talking about at work, the outcome is going to be the same in the gym on results, on fitness, weight loss, just like learning a new skill. It's going to be the same because as soon as things get a little bit challenging, people instantly just like turtle up, right? And it's like, and it's like, oh, this is really hard. This is hard. Like, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Right? Because people do accomplish things all the time at total different levels.
Yeah. And it's something we were talking about before we got on the microphones. It's like, that's why this mindset topic is pertinent, is because it permeates all aspects of life, right? Like if you have chances are if you have a poor mindset at work or, in your beer league, softball league, like it's going to apply to the gym when you're having issues with weight loss or muscle gain or whatever. And I find that right? Like I talked about growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And it's another way to look at it as being process oriented, where it's like, okay, if I had a bad weigh-in, instead of the woe is me attitude or like, again, I can't get any results, being able to take a step back and be like, okay, why did this happen? All right, well, my buddy had a party this weekend and I knew I shouldn't have drank, the 6 beers that I had, but I did anyways. And so you know what? I'm not going to do that over the next couple of weeks and I'll bounce back.
No, this is a great example. Is like, so as you're saying that, I'm thinking so this just happened to me this past week.
Okay, perfect.
Right? I was 202 pounds on the scale. Body fat went down, right? I've been hovering at like 11-ish%. Okay. And I weighed in 2 days ago. I lost 4 pounds. I lost 3 pounds of muscle mass, and my body fat went up 0.5%, almost a whole percent.
Yeah.
But then it's like, instead of being like, shit, that sucks. Like, yeah, okay, I did say that.
Yeah.
But it was like, I knew what I did.
Right.
And I know what to correct it. I didn't eat well that week.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't eat enough that week.
Yeah.
I didn't work out as much that week. Like there's so many variables, but instead of me taking it like, oh, I'm ashamed of what I did and then just make it worse, I already corrected it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I've been busting your chops because you got like this Gigundo water bottle you're walking around with. But you said to me, you're like, it's hot. I got to stay hydrated. So, because if I do that, I'll be able to work out better and I'm going to get better results. And so that's exactly it, is having the mindset of like, instead of getting down on yourself and continuing that spiral, being like, all right, didn't go the way I wanted, but I'm going to fix it.
This is like a little off subject, but we talk about this constantly is, what do I say about decision-making in work?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Joe said all the time, he's like, I want to make a decision and I want to make it fast, because if it's the wrong one, I want to find out earlier than later. Yeah. And then I can adjust it sooner versus waiting all this time and you're in the exact same spot.
Yeah. So the idea with that is, if you're dwindling on a decision to be made, this could be personally in the actual fitness side of you working out, of making a decision on anything. My mindset is, why would I dwindle on something for 6 months and maybe make a decision, but within that 6 months, I could have made a decision and made 3 wrong decisions in a row and then be in the same exact spot that I was in, but at least I tried.
Right.
Or in my opinion, there's a right answer and a wrong answer.
Right. And you'll find it eventually.
If I make the wrong decision on something in business, okay, a month went by, wrong decision, now we're going to do this. Okay, great. Look, that worked. Guess what? I made a choice.
Yeah. And now you have that right decision after a month versus 6.
It's the same reason when we talked about this pretty recently, is when people come into the gym and they're like, oh, I've been struggling with my weight, right? And yeah, it's not easy to start that and change your mindset on things. But to try and get somebody to give them all these things and all these components, and that's what our business and our gyms do for people.
Yeah.
Is we give you so much support to where this is the first time where we're holding your hand to be able to accomplish this.
Yeah.
But guess what? We still need your effort.
Yes. And so that's where, like, okay, cool. Now I've heard from you guys, like, I don't want to get fixated on the negative. I want to remember my progress isn't linear. I want to look at it as all feedback. well, how do I go about these things? How do I do it? So a couple of key things that I look at when I'm looking to fix someone's mindset is like, think about your brain as a muscle, right? So like, if you're going to train your muscles, you have to get reps in. You have to get reps of training your brain to not get fixated on the negative. So certain things like writing down your thoughts, trying to get, basically thinking about your thinking. It's a big term, Brandon, big term, metacognition.
Yeah, Brandon, what does that mean?
I used a big word before.
Chris, what does that mean?
Basically, it means thinking about your thoughts. So it's like, oh, this happened, so I thought really negatively. Why is that? So writing it down, developing certain calming mechanisms like breathing techniques, reading, prayer, things like that to help calm yourself down. And a big one I like is using the word yet. So like a lot of people will talk about mindset, and you and I are similar in this, where it's like, they're like, okay, you need to have a positive mindset. So that's always thinking things are good. And listen, in my fitness journey, in your fitness journey, and definitely in our business journeys, things are not always good, right? They're definitely not. But there's a way to be honest about that. So like an example I would use is like if someone, I know plenty of people who want to get a pull-up, right? Instead of saying like, oh, I'm right there, when you're not, being able to say something like, I can't get a pull-up yet, but I'm going to keep working at it. The word yet shows that it's like, I'm recognizing that I can't do this right now, but if I keep working at it, I know I can get there. So like for you and I, it's like when we were at post-COVID, right? We had seven locations pre-COVID. We shrunk, to 4 locations. And I know that's like probably hard for some people to hear who had 1 location and had to close completely. Yeah. But it was not easy for us to shrink. We laid people off. We had to furlough some people. And quite frankly, I know you were thinking it, but I'm like, how is this going to end?
Oh, we got to a point to where I was like highly considering just closing all of them and just leaving Sparta for my own personal gym.
Yeah. And so but we had the mindset coming out of it. It's like, okay, hey, we're not where we were before COVID yet, but if we keep doing these things, we're going to get there. And now we're in a position where we are opening our 6th location and we're getting to places we never had before. But it was all because of a mindset switch that if we were the other direction, the business would have been closed.
Oh yeah, because it's the bullshit of woe is me.
Yeah.
Okay. I like nothing aggravates me more is like, oh, poor me, like everyone has shit going on. Okay. Don't dwell on it. And that's why if you're not progressive, you're just going to be stagnant in anything that you do. You have to be progressive. And this is also why people get stuck in, like we talked about this before, you get stuck in a job that you hate. So change it.
Right.
It's like, I know it's really simple for me to just say that, but it is that simple.
Right.
It's like, you don't like doing this, so find something that you like to do. Okay. Well, you may not make money right away with it, but there's a way to transition from X to Y, and I'm like a pure example.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm a pure example because I fucking hated this so much that I was like, I am not doing this, and I'm going to now do this. But I made a decision like that, right? It wasn't like, oh, well, could I have done it better and like transitioned easier so where like financially like it wasn't so stressful? 100%. But there's no reason when you say, I'm going to accomplish this, that it's all the outside factors that affect you.
Yeah.
Because you allow them to affect you. You allow people's opinions to affect you. You allow people's, point of view of like, oh, well, why are you going to do that? But why? If it's something that you like to do and you want to accomplish it, great. People are haters.
And it's like having that iron mindset of like, no, I'm going to make this happen. And that's what you had. And then doing things like looking at everything as an opportunity to learn. I mean, I know you've done that. I mean, you've said that to me when I first started working with you. You were like, I've made so many mistakes, but I'm not going to make the same one twice.
Yeah, that's been like a rule that I've lived by is in this business, we've made a lot of mistakes.
So many, so many
mistakes. And that's why we've been progressive in the business.
Yeah.
Is because we're able to deliver a better program for our client base that just gets enhanced every month because we just keep adding value, right? And that's why people keep coming. And that's why, we're growing at the speed that we're growing. But anyways, back to mindset based, okay? Mm-hmm. It's really easy for people to, watch something on Instagram or on Facebook and trying to get motivated about this or that. But like, that doesn't mean that that's going to work for you. Mm-hmm. It's understanding what you want to accomplish and then, holding yourself accountable for those things.
Yeah, and it's getting like I said, it's getting the reps in because motivational videos are great, but that's all they are is motivation, and motivation fades. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do. It's like the New Year people. that go to Planet Fitness, they sign up, they're there for a month, and then they fall off because they're on this high of New Year motivation instead of developing their mindset and developing discipline to stick with it. And then, two other tools I tell people all the time is don't complain, because that's going to help you with your mindset. And the last thing is using the phrase, so what? And so like great example is like,
I say that shit to you all the time.
Yeah. Well, my therapist uses it with me where it's like, hey, if this happens, this is what I think is going to be the result. And she'll be like, okay, so what? And then you sit there and you're like, well, I guess that really isn't a big deal.
Because you dwell on things that affect you that haven't even affected you yet.
Yes, exactly.
That's why people don't make decisions, because they dwell on the worst case scenario and it gets stuck in their head. It's like, well, what if that fucking doesn't happen to you? Don't allow it to happen to you should be the mindset. This could happen, but I'm not going to let that happen, right? It's no different than when someone's trying to lose, 50 pounds and they lose 10 and then they get stuck. It's like, well, I'm not going to allow this circumstance to affect me. I'm going to continue.
Yes.
Whether this takes me an extra 6 months to do, I'm going to continue to work at this until I get where I want to be physically, mentally, visually.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. I was listening to a different podcast. They said that they were interviewing Navy SEALs, and they were trying to figure out what was the difference between the Navy SEALs that made it and the ones that didn't. And for those of you that don't know, Navy SEALs go to this thing called BUD/S, and it's like I've never been in the military, but the stories is like you bear crawl a mile during BUD/S. Like you lay in the ocean for like 8 hours at night. So the ones that don't make it are the ones that get so focused on like, man, I got 4 more days of this crap, versus the ones who focus on just put the next foot in front of the other, the next foot in front of the other. And then next thing you know, it's over. And so it's the same thing on your weight loss journey. It's like you hit that roadblock. I lost 10 pounds. Now I'm plateaued. Talk to your general manager, put the next foot in front of the other, and just keep progressing forward.
And it's why our program has the next thing and then the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Yeah.
And it's continuous because it's by design to help you reach whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So if you're someone, no matter what your goals are, if you're someone who's looking to lose weight, build muscle, make some sort of lifestyle change, talk to the people in your gym. Like I said, they're going to have resources. One of my biggest resource was the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. So I highly, highly, highly recommend reading that. And hopefully we were able to provide you some nuggets on things you can maybe do in your life to help improve your mindset, which is then going to improve your results. So if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram, like and subscribe to us on YouTube, give us a 5-star review on the podcast platform that you listen on.
Chris just tried to hold my hand.
We'll see you at the gym.